So now we just discussed that the wave function will have within WKB approximation, the wave function in the classically allowed region will have this form, and while trying to make sense of this all these factors, we have realized this when we take the psi square, that is order proportional to 1 by px and or proportional to 1 by the velocity of the local velocity of the particle, and that makes a lot of physical sense because the particle will like to spend more time at a region where it is slower and spend less time at a region where it is faster. So the probability is of course proportional to inverse of its velocity, and that physical common sense is reflected in the form we are getting from the WKB approximation, so which is a good thing. So now let us discuss the solution in the classically forbidden region. So what is the classically forbidden region? It is the region where p square x is less than 0 or px is purely imaginary. When that happens, you can again look up this look into this solution. If p is purely imaginary in that region, it will be exponentially decaying or exponentially growing with no I. This is a typo here, there should not be a I, and that makes sense because we know in a bound potential the wave function is oscillatory in the region in the middle, and when the energy is lower or the potential is higher at some region, that the solution is exponentially decaying. That is the tunneling probability. It is exponentially low probability for the particle to tunnel or leak out from there at a lower energy or crossing the barrier. It is exponentially, the probability is low. So we will discuss further about the physical meaning of this later, but now let us try to understand the full solution. We have not yet done the full solution. We had done the solution where the WKB approximation is valid, and that is away from the turning point. So these are the grey area where the WKB approximation is not valid, and these are the round areas are where the WKB approximation is valid. So to obtain a full solution, we need to understand the full region, and as you know, this turning points appears like a boundary condition in the Schrodinger equation when you solve it exactly, and that boundary condition satisfaction leads to the energy quantization that you can remind yourself by looking at the particle in a box problem, because in a classical system you know that there will be continuous energies, but in a quantum system there are certain allowed energy function of an integer, and that comes usually from the boundary condition. So here you will see a similar phenomenon. So now let us discuss the connection or the patching formula between the different WKB regions where the WKB approximation is valid, separated by islands near the turning point where the WKB approximation is not valid. So let us assume we are dealing with a simple 1D confining, some arbitrary shaped confining potential, and the allowed region is in between and the not allowed regions are outside, which is on two sides, in classically allowed and classically not allowed. This is not necessarily the case always. It could be like some arbitrary up and down, allowed, not allowed, allowed, not allowed, but that is a complex situation where you have to take each region separately, but for simplicity we discuss this simple situation. So for x greater than a, only the first term, remember there is no I, this is a typo, only the first term is valid because it is exponentially decaying. For x less than b, only the second term is valid because it is x negative and it is exponentially decaying. And in the in between region, it is the oscillatory solution, which is from equation 10. Okay. So now we will like to know that how to connect these three regions. So in order to do that, remember that linearized approximation we did before. It tells me that at a very narrow region near the turning point, we can approximate any arbitrary potential as a linear potential, and that's always true. Like if I put a magnifying glass here, which is very sharply magnifying things, what is happening here, it will look linear. As I go closer and closer, it will look more and more linear. So if I do this approximation like before, this g x minus a is x and a is the coordinate at this point, so x minus a is the linear function. So for a strictly linear function, we can solve this Schrodinger equation analytically, and this leads to something called Airy function. You can check it up in Landau's book or Wikipedia. So Airy function is a solution of this kind of differential equation with a linear linear coefficient, and they have this is the simplest kind of solution in mathematics, in the language of mathematics, which has a turning point, where the turning point means it smoothly connects, the solution smoothly connect a oscillatory and exponentially function. So it's like in a certain region it's oscillatory, like there are these two solutions, the green and blue. The green is like a sine and blue is like a cosine, and then this one decays and this one exponentially grows. So this is what we are doing here, just for a moment. So WKB is valid here, here and here, away from the turning point, and near the turning point we are writing down the exact solution by noticing that whatever the potential is, it can be approximated by a linear form. So that is the game, and once we do that, then everything is smoothly connected. That is the idea. For the rigorous algebra, you look it up in these books, Landau or Landau is a good book to look it up, or Griffith, and here I am just giving the outline. So the classical, in the right of the classical turning point, the Airy function will have this solution, this asymptotic form, and in the left it will have this form, this cosine form. This is the solution of this Airy function, immediate left. And similarly, near the point B in this region, it will have this solution. Now this, in order these two, equation 13 and 14, to be consistent, these two has to satisfy, because they express the solution in the same region. So they have to satisfy some condition, and that condition is C prime must be either plus or minus C, and this phase inside the cosine, they cannot differ by more than an integer of pi. And this can be, you can expect nicely that if n is even, then these two have to be same sign, because then it is 2 pi. So then they cannot, because you have to also stitch this and this together. If they are having a phase mismatch, they will not stitch. Okay. So in order to make sense between this part, what happens here and what happens here, if n is even here, the C prime has to be say, and n is odd here, C prime has to be minus C. So now I can write this condition 16 as like, it is like B to x and then x to a, where x in some arbitrary middle point. I can write it as B to a, Px, and this written given by n plus half pi. Okay. So now I can make it periodic. I can go to B to a and come back to B again. So then for a complete periodic path in the sense of a semi-classical motion, this will be just double to that. So I can write it as 2 pi h bar n plus half. So that is basically the Bose-Sommerfeld quantization condition, where n is nothing but, because n is this comes from this wave function form, and so n is nothing but the number of nodes in the wave function. So we get a quantization condition just by the matching of the WKB solution and the exact solution at the turning point. So now let us apply all these things we have learned into some real examples, some simple examples. So let us look at the quantum harmonic oscillator. The quantum harmonic oscillator has the following Hamiltonian: p square by 2m plus half m omega square x square equal to E, and this is the energy, and so Px is this 2me minus Vx, where Vx is this. So what are the classical turning point? The classical turning point is where Px vanishes, and that's m omega square x naught square by 2, let's say, and that x naught will be plus minus 2e by m omega square. That's understandable, because as the energy increases, the oscillator swings, or the pendulum swings more, so the turning points gets further and further. So for a periodic cycle, the classical motion is given by Px dx, where I plug in the formulas and obtain this to be 2 pi e by omega. Now we know from the Bose-Sommerfeld quantization condition, which is coming from WKB, it is equal to 2 pi h bar n plus half, and when I plug in this on this side, I get En equal to n plus half h bar omega, without doing any Schrodinger equation, without solving any Schrodinger equation. Remember all the hard work you did to solve the Schrodinger equation with Legendre polynomial and all that for harmonic oscillator. Without doing any of that, we obtain the solution of the energy eigenvalues. Now what happens to the wave function? We have established that the wave function is psi x is of this form in the region between the turning points is this cosine form. So now I can write this by splitting it into two parts. So here is a typo, and the typo is basically, so it must be obtained from minus x naught to x. Okay. So in this region it is just px by px. So now I can write it from minus x naught to x naught, which is by like using this quantization condition in 18. So minus x naught to x naught, and write here as x naught to x. So that is basically the, just fix the typo. Remember this is minus x naught to x. So now I plug in this formula and now use this minus x naught to x part, and now if I obtain this integral, I get this formula. So I will ask you to check this typo part of the algebra and fix it. Unfortunately, I wrote it down in pen and paper, so I could not fix it later after scanning it, because the scanner is in the institute and I am recording it at home. So this is your take it as an assignment to fix the goof up here. Okay. Now if I plug in the form in the forbidden region, which is x greater than x naught, it is this, and then put the p is obtained by from here, I get this formula. So now in this region it is a oscillatory function, this region it is an exponential function. So if I plot this, I get these dotted lines, and this one is the exact line. So this is for n equal to 0, the 0th wave function. So the wave function matches away from the turning point here and here, but here it shows some weird behavior because of the stitching. But that actually this as I mentioned initially, that the WKB works better and better at higher energy or when the momentum is higher. So if I look at n equal to 10 for example, you will see that the bold line which is from the exact solution and the dotted line which comes from WKB, they almost matches, beautifully matches, and away it also matches. Only near the patching there you see some inconsistency, but that is because you are doing an approximate solution. So it is strikingly good as you go higher and higher in the states, and that's how the WKB really shines. So now let's look at a second example, which is another class of problem where WKB is very useful. It's the quantum tunneling problem. So again, we will, without solving the full problem, we will obtain the solutions, which is at least qualitatively correct, and some cases even quantitatively correct. So what is the tunneling problem? In the tunneling problem, you have a incident wave from the left hand side. There is a potential, it sees a potential, then some part is transmitted, some part is reflected, the green line. And it is usually, this is a kind of problem which is very practical problem in a wide range of physical systems, like imaging systems, in quantum tunneling experiment and atomic force microscopy and all these kind of things, and in semiconductor physics, of course. That's where, like in a transistor or any electronic system, it's effectively electron scattering phenomena happens there. Like you tune the gate voltage, you give it a potential, and then you see how much of the electron transmits in the other side and all that. So for a general case, we will assume that there is a single continuous region from B to A, let us say, and the potential is some arbitrary shape, and that is where like WKB is really useful, because we just assume that don't know the form of the potential and we want to approximate some and it can be arbitrarily complicated. So, the potential rises, so let us say in the B to A region, it is above the incident energy of the incoming particle. So, this region it will be like exponential, and these regions it will be sinusoidal or like oscillatory, opposite to the well case. This is now a barrier case. So, we want to ask the question that in a classical system, of course, the particle will just reflect, because if there is not enough energy. In a quantum system, it will tunnel through, and we want to estimate what is the transmission probability. So, the WKB estimate will tell you what is the wave function form in this region 1, 2 and 3. In the 1, it will be 1 by root p e to the power minus I h bar, which is the oscillatory form B to x, and the reflected form will be R e times similar, like it, since it is going to the other direction, there will be a minus sign. P is of course square root 2 m e minus b x, as we discussed before. So, the psi 3 x will have the form. Similarly, it will have a tunneling amplitude with 1 by so sorry, this is not 1 by root 6, this is 1 by root p x exponential I by h bar a to x p dx, and psi 2 will have the exponentially form, because the v x is above the e, it will be of this form. So, now let us try to patch these things together, and when you do that, you will get a tunneling expression, and that will be this form. So, we want to estimate some form. So, now all you have to know the tunneling amplitude, the tunneling or the transmission probability. You have to only work out this factor as a function of energy. So, let us do it for some simple problem. So, let us do it for some simple problem. So, let us say that you have a rectangular barrier, which is like V goes to V naught or x between this region, or 0 otherwise, and the barrier is large enough. So, when it is large enough, we can use so the quantity which typically used to characterize in this kind of square well is this z naught square 2 m v 0 a square by h bar square, that must be greater than. So, a large barrier means large z naught. So, the E is much smaller than V naught. So, WKB gets bad as E goes to V naught, which is the tunneling region. So, plug and play, just plug in the formula. We just worked out this formula. This is the V naught. If I estimate, it's like everything is constant here, so it's really easy to do this calculation. And when I do that, I get this form TWKB, the tunneling probability TWKB. So, now we estimated that the Z naught is much greater than 1, E is much greater than B. So, if we do that estimate, the T will be just exponential minus 4 Z naught, but Z naught is proportional to square of V naught, which is the simple result which we know by experiment, that the suppression of tunneling probability is proportional to the width of the wall and square root of the height. Now, this is this is something by doing just using this WKB formula we get it very simply. Now, let us check with the exact form. So, if I do the exact calculation, the tunneling coefficient or the transmission coefficient turns out to be this. If I apply these approximations where the WKB works really well, I use this form, the sine hyperbolic x is e to the power x by 2, I get this form. Now, replacing V naught minus a, because E is much smaller than V naught, I get this form. This is exactly the same what we got from WKB, but there is a prefactor which we do not get from WKB. So, WKB qualitatively gets it correct modulo a prefactor. So, that is the thing of success of WKB in this problem. Now, let us do another example, which is another class of problem where WKB is really useful, is estimation of lifetime in a bound state. So, this is the class of problems which is usually used to estimate half the decay width or lifetime of a heavy atom or radioactive atom, that you must have studied it. I mean, any atom in a is like a, any nucleus is like a bound state, and or the particles inside the nucleus like protons and all, protons and neutrons are confined in a bound state or bound potential. That is how it can be estimated. So, it will have a tunneling, finite tunneling amplitude, and what is the lifetime of the particle or the and that I will show how to estimate that. That helps us to know the lifetime or decay width of an element. Usually the decay width of a stable elements like hydrogen and helium are order of lifetime of universe, and short decay width are like those are the dangerous elements like uranium and all that. So, for precise example, look at Griffiths, but here I will show you an outline of how to do this kind of calculation. So, a particle of mass m and energy E is localized between these two tunneling points. So, this is a problem where this is a region where the particle is classically allowed, and this is a classically allowed region with a barrier in between, a classically forbidden region. So, the classical particle of course is trapped here forever, it cannot escape. If the energy is lower, this is the energy, but quantum particle can tunnel, and we will estimate the tunneling amplitude or the tunneling coefficient, and from there we will estimate the lifetime. So, the state of the quantum particle which is confined between A and B is strictly not an energy eigenstate, because wave function for any energy is eigenstate non-zero for x greater than c. So, let us look at the estimate the lifetime of the particle using a combination of classical estimate and quantum transmission probability. So, the lifetime will be proportional to 1 by inverse tunneling amplitude, which is, it makes sense, because if the tunneling amplitude is higher, then the lifetime will be shorter. And probability T is the probability to have the particle localized in A and B at time t if the particle was there at time t equal to 0. So, how to estimate that? So, the Pt plus dt will be this Pt times the probability that the particle do not tunnel in the next time interval dt, that is given by Pt plus dt, Pt 1 minus b dt. So, if I rearrange this, I will obtain the solution that Pt plus dt minus Pt is minus b Pt, which I can, if the dt is very small, I can estimate or order of unity, I can estimate is as dp dt, and this solution is basically Pt e to the power minus bt. So, if the tau is 1 by b, if I call the tau as 1 by b, that is a time scale, because this b has to be inverse time, it's a power of an exponential, it has to be a number, it cannot be a unit dimension full quantity. So, I can rewrite this as Pt as e to the power minus t by tau, where time is a time scale. So, the tunneling rate B or tunneling probability per unit time in estimated can be estimated by counting the number of time the classical particle hits when it is bouncing between A and B. Okay. So, that is given by, so the B is now given by n number of hit times the time t, sorry, the tunneling amplitude or tunneling probability t, and that can be obtained by writing t by delta t, where delta t is the time the classical particle takes to go from B to E and then come back to B. So, simply the delta t can be estimated by dx by vx. We have done this kind of approximation in kinetic theory of gases. So, I put in the Vx formula. If I put in the Vx and Px formula, then I can obtain this delta t. So, putting all this thing together, we obtain the WKD estimation of tau, because this tau is tells you what is the lifetime or how long what is the decay lifetime. So, if I put in all this, the delta t as we estimated by this formula, and the t which we obtain for WKB, by putting all this together I get this formula. So, what does it tell me? It tells me the smaller is the tunneling probability, longer is the lifetime of the localized state, and here the delta t carries the unit of time, and it can fail because it can fail to be very precise, because as we realize that the WKB misses some prefactor. It gets the exponential, the more strong part correctly, but it misses the prefactor. But it gives a very easy and quick estimate of the tunneling probability, and so on. That means the lifetime of a particle in a bound state. So, that is it. That is basically all the examples I wanted to do. Now, here is a little bit of point I will like to cover about all these theories. So, let me do that. Yeah, every time I rotate this wrong. So, we have learned these 4 types of approximation, and we realize that most problems in quantum mechanics are formally intractable. So, when the problem could be written in a way that there is a H0 plus H1 form, but the H1 can be regarded as a small perturbation, and we have learned what does it mean by small perturbation. It means that the level crossing is maintained, I mean no level crossing theorem is maintained. So, in that case you can apply a perturbation theory, and it is fairly good in estimating many practical systems, in estimating the properties of many practical systems that we have seen through examples. We have seen 2 different formalisms to apply for degenerate and non-degenerate cases, and we have estimated some energy and wave function correction for some for various problems of both kind. When it does not work, which means not always in a problem you can write things like that, and the perturbation theory of course fails because if the series does not converge, then a choice is to do variational method, or it is not necessarily you do variational method only when perturbation fails. You sometimes need to even estimate a H naught, which is not guaranteed you know everything about H naught. Even the knowledge of H naught could be an approximation which comes from variational method often, and we have done that for helium atom, and it becomes almost an essential thing to do for more complex systems where no exact solution exists, which the most problems of interest and importance are intractable. So, you have to apply those estimations to begin with, even to begin the problem. So, then the variational method is very helpful, and we realize it is it's a very like fine art, because there is usually not a lot of rigorous guiding principle. You have to use your intuition and look at the symmetry and asymptotics and get the variational form of a wave function, and then you use that to and try to lower the energy by doing that, and that is the only way you can know that the variational method is working. Usually you do not have anything against to compare with. And finally, we have learned about the semi-classical WKB, which is a very useful approximation, simplifies a lot of things and gives a fairly correct answer for 1D system, which are strictly 1D, or it could be 1D by some symmetry, like hydrogen atom problem in the radial direction becomes an effective 1D differential equation when you write it in terms of spherical harmonics. So, that is the overview of all the approximate methods you learned in the stationary quantum mechanics. Next, we will go for the time dependent formalism of quantum mechanics, when the Hamiltonian itself is time dependent, and we will see how to do how to calculate various properties of such system, and how to do more importantly perturbation theory for such systems. That is all.